Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year to you. I have my little buddy Schroeder, who has really enjoyed all the fan mail that you sent him. He's such a little sweetie here. He's with me again today. And he's like this all the time, by the way, and he's been like this since he was a little kitty. Anyway, so this message comes from both of us on New Year's Day, from me and from Schroeder. And I just want to say, I'm not a big fan of the annual review this year and resolutions for next year thing that people tend to do all the time. But I do find that there are lessons that can be learned every year, and then you can make the next year better. So it's in that spirit that I'm going to share just some random thoughts I have about things, looking back on last year and getting ready for this year. I promise I'll make him face the camera once I finish saying what I'm going to say. So anyway, I'll just start by saying this is my philosophy. I think when humans are comfortable, they sometimes become complacent. And I know this is true in my case. You know, what usually causes us to grow is hardship and negative and challenging circumstances and events in our lives. Well, a good example, Viktor Frankl and his wife Tilly spent 18 months in concentration camps during World War II. He survived, she didn't. He also lost his mother and brother during the war as well. And the important part of his story is that he not only survived, but he went on later to thrive. And he drew on his experience in the camps. And one of the things that he observed there was the incredible resilience of human beings. And he decided at a certain point in time that this is something that could be taught to other people. And he wrote, quote, "Everything can be taken away from a man, but the one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." In other words, what happens to us is only part of what goes on in our lives. It's our response to it that can make all the difference in the world, the bigger influence, actually. Every difficulty that we all encounter individually and collectively is an opportunity really to look inside ourselves and examine and access our inner resources. And we generally learn from these experiences and things get better. We become stronger. My grandmother used to say all the time, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We have more clarity about what really matters in life. And I think that's important. We develop better relationships with the people who really matter to us more. We develop greater fortitude, which allows us to take on greater challenges in life. We develop more empathy for others, and maybe most important is you develop more appreciation for the moment. It's all we have, really. I mean, we can make the best of it or not, as the case may be. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "To live is to suffer, and to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." And sometimes the darker things are at a given moment in time, the brighter they'll seem by comparison when they get better. And I'm reminded of a scene, I don't know how many of you watched Oh God, the movie with George Burns playing God and the little girl who's in the movie. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the script in front of me, but at one point in time, she says to George Burns, "You're such a sweetheart." She says to George Burns, "How is it that if you're God, that you let bad things happen to people?" And again, that's kind of a paraphrasing of her question. And George Burns said, "Well, I thought about that a lot." And he said, "As much as I tried, I never could figure out how to have an up without a down, and a back with a front without a back, and a good without evil, and that sort of thing." So what he was really saying is that the good things in our lives are sometimes defined by the comparison to the opposites. So how we respond to bad times is really kind of defining. And this is one of those things where we're living in the moment here. And you can understand why I have such a happy life with this little guy. So anyway, we're not defined by the things that happen, and we cannot have good without bad. I mean, life isn't just one fabulous thing right after another. So we have to really look at how are we going to respond to the things that happen to us. Anybody can be charming and happy when everything is great. I think the key and what differentiates people is the ability to demonstrate grace under fire, courage in response to fear, and to take responsibility and to take action instead of falling into helplessness. The most important thing, I think I said right there, is taking action. Most people feel better when they're productive. And right now, we really do need all hands on deck. And there's no end to the work that we have to do at this particular moment in time. It's a rare moment in history. I mean, they'll be writing about this debacle for a long, long time, and we'll be passing on information about what we were doing and what we did to our grandparents, to our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And history books will be filled with information about the COVID debacle. So what should we be doing? I'm just going to give you my opinion. We're all called to help people who are less fortunate, and there sure are a lot of them out there. We're called to hold the criminals and tyrants who have hurt us and our families and our friends and our communities accountable for their actions. We're called on to rescue the children who've been harmed by this and have been left destitute and functionally illiterate as a result of this debacle. We're called upon to help the small businesses that have been decimated, to comfort the families who lost their parents or grandparents in nursing home jail and who have children who committed suicide and family members and friends that they lost to overdoses or people who were unable to get medical care during this awful time. So this is our opportunity to grow, for all of us to become stronger and better than we were before in service to other people. That's usually how it happens, is in service to other people. So what I'm asking you to do on this New Year's morning, as we get into a new year, thankfully leaving the old one behind, is to step up to the plate to help. I mean, join one of my conference calls. I'll be scheduling more of them to talk about things to do in addition to lawsuits and that sort of thing. And I want you to ask yourself, am I contributing to the solution or waiting for somebody to solve this problem for me? And I'm hoping that what I'm doing is motivating you to want to become part of the solution. And to all of this, I'll just add one more thing. Life is full of choices, and we all have some to make. We can choose to be ignorant. We know some people who've done that, and it's kind of frustrating to watch. Or we can choose to feel helpless or sad or angry. Or we can choose to be positive and happy. I mean, that's a choice too. Abraham Lincoln, who was known for suffering from depression from time to time, once said, "People are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." So let's start 2021 with some resolve to be happy and productive and to be leaders instead of followers, and to commit to not just restoring our world, but making it even better than it was before. Obviously, there are a lot of problems going on in the world for something like this debacle we're experiencing to happen right now. So let's make things not just restored to what they were before, but better than they were before. And that's my commitment for 2021. And so I'll see if I can get Schroeder to look at the camera here. He certainly enjoys, he'd rather pet his mommy right now. That's really what he wants to do. But here's a picture of, here's little Schroeder's face. He's a happy little guy. And we are both committed to working hard to making everybody's life better in 2021. So Happy New Year from Schroeder and I. And let's make 2021 fabulous. We have the power to do that. So let's do it. I'll be back to you next week with more news.